So let's talk about the actual orders being given. So on the left in the blue, you actually see that I've highlighted units that any orc can sorry tactic that any orc unit can get. That means it can go on a vehicle, so that makes it kind of fun and cunning. So we got stuck in for get rerolls. This is very important synergy with the WAAAGH. So if you played in 8th edition, you understand that orcs used to have here we go as an army wide rule where we always rerolled charges or I believe it's true charges. Yeah. So keep in mind that it's just innate to us that when you have an army going off on the wall and your army wide rule is there, being able to just hand out reroll charges is sometimes innately valuable. Good for vehicles. Sometimes you just want a bigger charge distance, so you can get vehicles kind of on the way, out of the way. Sorry, excuse me. So if you do choose to give it to a vehicle for whatever it may be late game, you can end up just making up more space in that case or getting further down the field. And then, of course, it's good for charges outside of the wall. So we're very obvious that Storm Boys can be given advance and charge outside of the wall with other orders that we're going to talk about here, giving them the ability to re-roll charges when they're already passing to advance and charge is pretty nice. Or if you're just trying to make charges on any, normal movement outside the wall, it sucks that we can't advance and charge often, so that helps. Then we have +1 strength. There are units that particularly like this. It does work on any kind of unit, but there's not much value from like a Death Dread getting this. I don't advise killer cans outside of Dread Mob. So it's very situational that you would matter outside of this, but there are a few units. Flash Gits would be important. Snaggers would be important because of strength 5 to 6. Basic skirmish type units such as commandos, storm boys, bikers, they would all appreciate that going from 4 to 5. And then something that people kind of forget are squig hog boys. They sit at a strength 5, so if you give them strength 6 and then they charge and they lance, they're really wounding quite well in enemy elite infantry. Squigs are a bit overpriced, but hey, it doesn't mean you don't want to use them sometimes. And then, of course, knobs being able to go to strength 10, taking the war boss to strength 12 on the wall would be really fantastic as well. And this is really good for skirmish battles. So when you're getting into fights early in the game or even late in the game with low point units costing under maybe 120 points, these are the kind of units that are going to want the +1 strength outside of the wall, so they can actually cause trades, get reliable kills on the enemy unit in situations that sometimes you would just kind of bounce. So it feels really good when you can actually get that off. Shout out to our sponsors, the Baron of Dice, as they helped us do our Waaaghtaktiks dice. So shout them out. Check them out in description, 5% off in the discount because nobody likes taxes. And shout out to Baron of Dice. They allow us to do our paint competition. So thank you very much to them. Shout out to our sponsors, the Baron of Dice, as they helped us do our Waaaghtaktiks dice. So shout them out. Check them out in description, 5% off in the discount because nobody likes taxes. And shout out to Baron of Dice. They allow us to do our paint competition. So thank you very much to them. Then you have Sneaky Gits. So this one is infantry and mounted, it excluding mega knobs. Sucks you can't do it to gas. And then they have the stealth and the benefit of cover. This one is often stacked when you're playing this detachment with another one, right? So you're often going to give a unit stealth and +1 to hit, like we're about to talk about in a bit, or stealth and +1 strength because you know they're going to be exposed next turn once you try to get off into these fights. Therefore, expect that when you're going to give stealth, you're probably going to give something else to that unit. Keep in mind, this is one of those tactics that's stronger the more that it's passed around because you want more units to have stealth. So it just kind of messes up the opponent's math across the board. They can't just go, okay, I'm going to ignore you for a second and charge you and then shoot these other dudes. They have to go, oh, everybody's taking it. What lines of fire can actually gain to pick up all these orc units? And some armies, like Eldar T3 units, even Space Marines, for example, don't like when even a couple leftover orc models exist. Therefore, whenever you mess this up, as we talk about the stratagems, the more units you have left over matters. So it's really, really nice. Of course, this goes really great with the wall. So if you know you're going to wall, maybe you don't need an additional strength and you're close enough that you're going to need to re-roll charges, or you're still going to end up giving yourself any other tactic. The point of giving yourself stealth, you do get off on that one, you're standing on the open 5 of invuln and you have stealth. Plus, you've already given yourself +1 strength. That's really important to just not only your staying power, but when you counter charge, when you get counter charged and you interrupt, you'll have more bodies left on the field. An example for fighting. Then I really like this on bikes. I like it on Flashkits. I like it on Squighog Boys. Of course, Zagrot, Wartsnaga, and even just basic boys units. The reason is because the more models you have, the more dice people have to roll at you to even take the attempts, right? The more math can swing against their favor. It can actually end up hurting them. Therefore, putting them on even small units and giving that out will be important. But we'll talk about how you actually do that. Easier said than done. Of course, the one tactic that's on everyone's mind is shooter drills. So this is infantry and mounted models in this unit make range attack +1 to the hit roll. I did mention mech guns before. You can't do that because this is specific that it's saying models. So you can't do mech guns cannot get +1 to hit. That's fine. That's for Dread Mob, and they're still not appealing there anyways. So here we have what's really important about this one tactic is that this one tactic alone turns this entire detachment into a combined arms detachment. So other than this detachment, you really just got Dread Mob for that. But you'll see soon enough. Keep that in mind. Sorry, with that being said, in mind, I only suggest about 300 to 400 points of shooting on your list. Of course, more. They can go more. But that's kind of like a rule of thumb, quote unquote, that when I'm looking at lists and advising lists on what I would advise here. And then, of course, keep in mind that our advantage our advantage to being combined arms is that this becomes an additional advantage over combat armies. Now, when you're playing War Horde, when you're playing Bully Boys, you have the ability to fight on death. That's normally what our advantage is. We start trading out other armies that want to fight, that want to do combat because they usually cost more for their melee units. In this case, because we don't have fight on death, we have to be cheeky. We have to take advantage of the fact that we actually have shooting. And what I mean by that is going to be Overwatch a lot of the time. Enhancements and units that you're going to advise here, you're going to see Overwatch should be considered, especially in those combat matchups. So you're looking at these other orders. You got to keep in mind that shooting becomes important for us because orcs typically just want to fight and no one wants to get shot by orcs. Units here that really like that are Flashkits again, bikers because they have twin link, they have additional AP if they get closer to you, they're innately already assault. And then you have Ludas. Ludas a lot of the time will be close to the back line so they can get orders later in the game. When people start standing on objectives, they're kind of cheap, so that'll be nice to be on list. Of course, the shock attack guns that will appreciate getting +1 to hit, and they will be able to be giving those orders. And then tank busters. So tank busters are something that we just got. If you enjoyed the clip, check out the full video here. If you'd like to see more tactics, click here.
Let's get stuck in, lads!